Alright, gang. McFrazzle Wiener here. So, I'm just kind of doing an introduction video on that car. You guys have seen videos of this car. It's out of commission right now. There is the motor that was in this car, which is going to be going in that car in a dumbed down version. So, what we had in this was a 10-to-1 496 making around 800 horsepower. Car had been in the bottom half of the nines, coasting. It was under geared when we did that. So we took that pump gas 10-to-1 naturally aspirated 496 that you see there in that heap of trash bags in this car and went a best of 949. It has been a 130 60 foot, spinning the tires and bucking like a Bronco, and it has been 119.8 miles an hour in the 8th mile one time. Naturally aspirated at just under 3,000 pounds. It's race ready with me in it. So that 496 was a low 9-second combination that I was just never able to iron out. I just never took the time to really refine it and do what needed to be done to make it. The goal was 890s to make that happen in this car. So I'd always wanted to do a bigger cubic inch dart block build, and I finally got everything together to do that. So Scott Foxwell has a Dart Big M, no, wrong car, Dart Big M going for this car. It's a 55 millimeter cam, 904 lifters, still about 10.5 to 1 compression, 532 cubic inch, 4-inch stroke, 4.6 bore. And that motor, the goal is to make over 900 horsepower on 91 octane and somewhere between 925 and 935 with oxygenated fuel, still on pump gas. So the 496 is going to be going in that car. Now, this video is to just spend a few minutes talking about that car. Goddamn flies. So this is a 69 Chevelle. I don't technically own this car. Technically, this car belongs to my dad. But he's 67 years old, and about 10 years ago, he calls me up one day and says, hey, I need you to store the Chevelle for me. And it was not quite as blown apart as it is now. I said, what do you mean store it for you? I've got a 2-car garage. I don't have room. What am I supposed to do with it? And he said, do whatever the hell you want with it. I said, okay, I'll come get it this weekend. So I go get this car. This car was a high school auto body project car that, best I can tell, it was abandoned somewhere around, well, it was abandoned in about 2002. The farthest history back I can trace the car is like 1998 or 1999, which is when I bought this car. Interesting. That's when this car went out of commission. Auto body high school project car had it for, I don't know how long, a year or two maybe. And then the high school dumped the program because of the cost. And they just told the teacher, just get rid of the car, do whatever you want with it. So he had it for a few years to where it just sat outside in his barn, and it is completely stripped. They had done some, it wasn't bare metal sitting outside, but it was no glass. The glass was, the only piece of glass that was in it is that piece that you see right there. And there's one resting. There's a passenger side window for the door sitting in the luggage rack or luggage panel, whatever you call that back panel behind the back seat. Anyway, the point is that car sat out in the weather, body and primer, but just open to the elements for the next probably somewhere around 6 to 8 years. And then my sister and at the time brother-in-law, whom it was his high school, he actually worked on that car in high school. They bought it from the shop owner, or excuse me, from the teacher for, I believe, $500, and they gave it to Dad. Now, the reason they gave it to Dad was because he had a 69 Chevelle in high school. That was his high school car, was a 69 Chevelle. Not this car, but just a 69 Chevelle. And so my entire life, I grew up, hot rodding with Dad and stuff like that, and grew into this stuff. But my entire life, it was 69 Chevelle. So that car has become a unicorn to me. So Dad asked me to kind of look after this thing, and I told him I told him here recently. I was like, "You're never getting this car back." I said, "I'll let you take it and drive it and stuff like that, have it for a summer, enjoy it for a while." I said, "But this car never leaves you and I. Like, you're never really getting this car back from me." So I'm just kind of stealing it. But Dad had this car for probably somewhere around, I think I went and got it from him in 2010 or 2011. And so he had it for about 5 years. I don't know if it ever actually even got off of his trailer. It still sat outside. So that's kind of the history of that car back to, like I said, 1998. Auto body teacher, high school program, my brother-in-law to my dad to me. And now we are taking it and turning it into a muscle car. The Corvette is a hot rod. It's essentially a street legal race car. It's roll cage. It's on a spool, built aluminum brakes, sheet metal seats. I mean, the goal is to run like Rocky Mountain Race Week or Drag Week or Midwest Drag, something like that. Some kind of endurance racing with this car. And this is going to be a hot rod. So the 496 is going in that car. Sorry for the rant, but the 496 is out of the Corvette that it went 940s with, is going in this car in a dumbed down version. RPM Edelbrock dual plane intake, Edelbrock Performer RPM dual plane intake, probably a set of aluminum heads. My plan is to have Scott Foxwell, the guy that's got the motor for the Corvette, my plan is to have him do me a set of super torque heads for this thing. Just make this thing a torque monster. 500 cubic inch, 625 horsepower, 650, 700 pounds of torque. And then we'll put a nitrous perimeter plate on that. I know, dual plane intake, nitrous perimeter plate. You get by with a 500 inch motor, you can eat a 200 shot all day. So the goal is in 2 years, hopefully less, because I have a short block and a transmission for this car. The short block is Lunati crank, Molnar rods, JE pistons, and then a well-prepped GM 454 block, studded, all that shit. Take that thing, get it sorted out, take it to the, get it sorted out at the track, trailer the Corvette to a race with the Chevelle, run 8s in the Corvette, and run 10-0s in the Chevelle same day. That's my bucket list. That is what my goal is for this car, is to run low 10s, and it will probably end up being on nitrous to do that. 10-0s in this car, under 9.0 in that car same night with the tow rig. We're going to beef up. There's not much to the rear frame section of these things, so I've looked at that, evaluated that. We kind of know what we're going to have to do that. Probably be a shock change at the track. We'll probably tow on air shocks, get it to the track, undo the, get this off the trailer, undo the trailer, and then switch over to a set of coilovers. So it's going to take some work, but it's pretty easy to get to all that stuff. So that's the goal. 10-0s, tow rig, 9-0s and quicker, 890s, both on 91 octane, naturally aspirated. So now the Chevelle has sat in here, it hasn't sat a night outside since I've owned it. I take that back. I pushed it out in the driveway and covered it with a tarp for like 3 days while I was building my outdoor kitchen. I needed the shop space, but it has not been exposed to anything other than dry weather. It's been in the garage for 10 years, and we really got to this thing just in time. Let's spin around the car. We're stripping the body down to bare metal, and these are low spots, so I'm going to address. This is a vinyl top car. It's going to stay a vinyl top car. It's actually a Malibu, 69 Malibu. But we've done some straightening work on the body, and this body is actually really good on the outside. On the inside, which you'll see in the next video, I'm probably going to time lapse, so I'm going to get all the shit out of this thing and show you what we're doing inside. The body on this car is amazingly straight, though. I mean, there was very, very little repair work that actually had to be done. Got a few low spots in the roof. That's okay. No big deal. But there's a little bit of a wave. I think this is lead. I think they filled that with lead. A little bit of a low spot right there I'm going to address, but all this is really decent sheet metal. We've got one little spot right there, a little rust. We're going to patch that in. You can't see it because of all the shit on the front end, but the front suspension's all new. New spindles. The only thing that's actually used is the A-arms, new power steering box, all the tie rods, all the bushings, the ball joints, the sway bar, everything here is brand new. Again, the only thing used is the A-arms. Those are original, and they've been powder coated. I shouldn't say powder coated, I rattle canned them. But over to this side, kind of the same drill. This side is a little worse off. This car has been hit back here in this corner. And what the auto body program did, there's a funky patch. It cuts from about here and it goes up at an angle and goes down. And they took a new corner section back there and they laid it under the factory sheet metal and spot welded it in. So right here it dropped down, the thickness of that panel, less than a 1/16 of an inch, or maybe it's a 1/16 of an inch. And when it got hit, it created a crease right here, and inside the trunk you can see where they welded body nails on. So it creased this, and they put the body nails on it, and that's actually come out really, really good. We've got a little bit of a transition right there I got to work on, and a little bit of one right there. But other than that, and I don't know if this had a low spot in it right there. I don't know if that's from anything that happened there or not. And we do got a little spot there. That's about an inch long total from there to there. This is barely bigger than my thumbnail. And I don't want to replace the quarter panel, or cut that out and patch that in. I might get some metallic panel bond for that, or maybe sandblast that out and then just try and build some tack welds there so I can reshape it. But I am going to address that. It's not going to be, the right way, but it's going to be good enough for a 20-year restoration job. But all this sheet metal is really, really good. But what I mean by we got to the car just in the nick of time, let me zoom in, turn the flash on. This is all deep pitted rust. It's not all the way through, but it was close. It got pretty thin right there. And you can see here where it actually did eat that panel. But this is what I'm talking about by the car got really close. There's some really scaly rust. Now, none of this stuff has gone through the body, but, it's definitely better on the outside than it was on the inside. Because this thing just sat here with windows down, just eating rust. This was all, not prepped to sit outside for X amount of years. And back here, again, this is a vinyl top car, and this is one of the places where they go away. You can see that's real bubbly. Now, I've probed that from the underneath side. It's solid. They've epoxied it in, but what we're going to do on the inside, we're going to obviously clean the shit out of it. But we're going to buff, sand, and wire wheel everything that we can get to. And then what we can't get to behind the creases and in the corners, we're going to sandblast. And then I'm going to go with some rust encapsulator, probably some Eastwood rust encapsulator. A lot of people have said POR 15. I've used POR before. I was not in love with the results, but I don't think I did a very good job prepping, so I may give it another shot. And then hopefully by this winter, this car has a full new interior in it. So, that's what we're doing. That's, I'm not a big YouTube guy, but I am going to be putting some videos and some content up that are walking through the rattle can restoration process, if you will. This car is going to be a mundane driver. Like, the cubic inches and the cylinder heads it's going to get are going to be plenty to easily support 600 horsepower. The intake manifold that's going on it is easily going to support 600 to 650 horsepower, so then we're just going to cam it appropriately. It'll be, probably a 108 or a 109 lobe separation. My guess is 550, 600 lift, somewhere in there. 245, 255 duration, something like that. It'll make power, you know. I don't need to make power past 6,500 with this thing. It's not the Corvette. It's not going to go zip into $8,000 and stuff like that. But that's what we're doing with the Chevelle. And again, I think the importance of this is publicly stating, well, there's a high spot right there. A little hammer and dolly work on that. What the goal is going to be, which again, 10 seconds, 8 seconds, trailered by that car. And I wanted to put that publicly because it's a little bit more of a motivator to hold to your goals if you state that you're going to do something rather than just think it in your head. So, we'll talk about some options on the way with this thing, like paint color. It's going to be a black vinyl top car. Fucking period. Black interior, probably going to convert it to bucket seats. I think it was a bench seat car and column shift. It's going to go to buckets, center console, and probably a Hurst quarter stick. Probably a Hurst pistol grip quarter stick is what we're going to do with it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Follow along and let's see how we come with this thing. Thanks, gang.